Hey, Pretty Girl Club. Welcome to Exoticals United Frequently Asked Questions. So, I decided to make this video because a lot of new people are coming to this channel, which I'm super excited about. So, I'm just going to go through frequently asked questions about this channel. And from here on out, if new people comment on my other videos and they are kind of trying to imply that I didn't answer any of these particular questions, they're just going to go ahead and get banned. But the first question that I get asked all the time is, why don't you use the category brown skinned? Why do you just say dark and light skinned? And the reason why I do that is because this channel talks about colorism. So for those of you who don't know, my channel uses Alice Walker's definition of colorism. So I talk about the colorism that both light-skinned women face and dark-skinned women. So if you look up the definitions of beige or tan, which are kind of the lighter skin tones, technically those shades are brown. Dark-skinned women are technically brown. So the term brown skin is too vague of a term for me to use when I'm discussing very controversial topics like colorism. I also think that a lot of dark-skinned black women have taken over the brown-skinned category. So because of that, it would be very disingenuous for me to approximate a light-skinned woman who benefits from light-skin privilege to a woman who is resentful or, suffers because of her skin being called too dark. And so that's the reason why I don't tend to use the term brown. Also, I understand that skin tone is subjective. And so different people are going to have different opinions than me, and that's fine. If you care that much about skin tone categories, please make your own YouTube channel where you discuss that. But I've always viewed the term brown skin as a nickname that people use to describe themselves. I have never had someone say, oh yeah, that brown skin girl over there, or yeah, this guy, he's that one brown skin black guy. I've never really heard anyone use those terminologies when describing others. The term brown skin is more of a nickname that I've heard people of all shades, like any person of color. I've heard damn near everyone from Asian people to Pacific Islanders to African Americans using the term brown as just a nickname. And so because I don't see that skin tone category discussed in African American literature, I choose to stick to the obvious categories light and dark, because when we're talking about colorism, I want you guys to see exactly who I'm talking about. If you want to know my personal opinions on skin tones, like what is light skinned, feel free to look at my What Color is Light Skinned series. Another question that I get is, why do you make videos specifically about light-skinned women? I can only speak from my perspective. So as a light-skinned woman, I feel like I have more authority to speak on that experience. And I also feel like the light-skinned side of the story has not really been told here on YouTube. Whenever you hear Black women empowerment creators discussing things like colorism, texturism, and featureism, it's usually from the perspective of a dark-skinned, unambiguous, monoracial Black woman. And so what makes my channel special and refreshing is the fact that I came in and went against the grain. I did not care what the trends were here on YouTube. And it caused my channel to stand out a lot, which is a part of why this channel is growing so fast. And so that's why I make videos about light skins, because number one, that's the perspective I can speak from. Number two, it's because it's a niche on YouTube that has not been covered. And also, if dark-skinned, unambiguous Black women can have their safe spaces, why can't other types of Black women have ours? So that includes biracial Black women, multiracial Black women, etc. And that's who this channel is for. Another frequently asked question I get is, what is an exotical? So the term exotical, I got that from channels like Chrissy and Cynthia G. So these were women mainly in their comment sections who would make fun of anyone who was not an unambiguous monoracial dark-skinned Black woman. They would call them nicknames like exotical. So that was something that I was called when I used to follow those channels. And they used that terminology so that they could invalidate my talking points and experiences. And so instead of getting mad, playing victim, or begging other content creators to represent me, instead of me doing that, I decided to create my own space, to create my own pedestal here on YouTube, and to focus on other women who look like me. So the term exotical is actually a phrase that I took back from Black women empowerment. It's a slang term that just means anyone who is not an unambiguous, dark-skinned, monoracial Black woman. And by the way, another way to describe it is someone who is mixed or someone who looks mixed. So looking mixed means that you're monoracial, but you happen to get stereotyped as being mixed race. And so that's another question that I get on this channel sometimes, which is, what is looking mixed? Well, here in the United States, a lot of people in the Black community, they stereotype you as mixed if you benefit from isms. So colorism, texturism, featureism, or all three. If you benefit from one or more of those things, you are going to be thrown in and out of Blackness. People are going to invalidate your experiences in the Black community, and they're going to say, like, you don't understand because you don't have it as hard. They're going to play games with you like that. And so because of that, a lot of women who have been accused of benefiting from isms, they don't feel as welcome in unambiguous monoracial dark-skinned Black women's spaces because their experiences don't resonate. Like, they don't have the same experiences as an unambiguous dark-skinned Black woman. And so they can't really relate to a lot of their struggles that they're going through over there. And so they wanted to have a safe space where they could talk about their struggles. And some of them even accused us of being narcissistic by talking about our struggles on their channels, which, you know what, I'm not even going to disagree with that, because I really do feel like it's hard to understand being a content creator if you're not one. So it probably is annoying for those unambiguous Black women to constantly have light-skinned women or mixed women or women who benefit from isms coming onto their channels and trying to talk about their experiences. And so one of my goals was to help to start a new niche here on YouTube. Some people call it the exotical sphere. Other people in the past have called it the golden sphere. Some people before that have, like, I don't know what they called it. But yeah, so this is a different counter niche that we are starting to take ownership over our own experiences. We're tired of allowing other people to speak for us. And also, a lot of people like to pretend like darker skinned mixed women don't exist. A lot of people like to pretend like dark skinned women can't benefit from texturism or featureism. So that was another thing I got annoyed by, because I was like, what are you talking about? There are plenty of dark skinned women who have curly hair, or they have, small noses or whatever. By the way, side note, I've noticed that whenever people talk about featureism, they're talking about featureism against kind of like these Bantu features that are often associated with unambiguous African American women. So anyway, I wanted to discuss all of those nuances on this YouTube channel, so that's why I created it. And now we've got dozens of other content creators coming out who are a part of this niche, and so I fully support them. I'm not going to listen to anybody who ever tries to make me beef with anyone who is a part of my niche, because at the end of the day, like, I view us as being classy, and so you're never going to see me engaging in beef with other channels that are started, in support of Exoticals. And by the way, another thing that people say is, oh, you're making up terms, you're making up phrases. And it's like, yeah, people make up words all the time. Like, if I want to make up certain words to describe my experience, that's fine. If I want to take back certain terms that were used against me and then I want to take it for myself, that's also fine. Another thing that I have heard is, you can't say you're exotic. Like, why do you use the term exoticals when you guys look Black? And it's like, well, it's because I associate Blackness with being exotic. So one problem I've noticed is that obviously unambiguous Black people, they don't view Blackness as exotic. They view it as just regular, average, basic, regular, degular. And if you don't believe me, go to their YouTube channels and listen to them speak about hating their Blackness in a lot of cases. So this is actually supposed to be a channel that empowers your Blackness. The thing that we all have in common on this channel is our Blackness, whether we are biracial Black women, triracial Black women, multiracial Black women, light-skinned Black women. Blackness is what we all have in common. And so I actually promote and empower Blackness here on this channel. Something else that other people have tried to critique with this channel is they say you're too inclusive of different phenotypes or skin tones or whatever. And if you think I'm too inclusive, well, the inclusivity of this channel is actually based on the exclusivity of Black women empowerment channels. And so you guys know that I was an avid follower of a lot of BWE content creators. And if you look at channels like Chrissy's, well, she has now removed all of her videos talking about light skins because she doesn't want to be exposed. But if you look at channels like hers, she specifically talked about having an exclusive space for unambiguous dark-skinned Black women. And so this channel was actually supposed to be inclusive for all of those who did not fit into spaces like that. That's why I named it Exoticals United, because my whole point was, okay, if you're kicking out everyone that is not an unambiguous dark-skinned Black woman, then guess what? I'm leaving and I'm taking all of the Exoticals with me. And we are going to have our own community on YouTube called Exoticals United. So that's where the name actually came from. And I'm also being inclusive on this channel because a lot of us share similar experiences. So like we would have more experiences in common with one another versus if you go on to colorism channels from unambiguous dark-skinned Black women. So a lot of the things they talk about, such as maybe not being viewed as pretty or, you know, going through colorism, texturism, featureism, and all these different struggles, a lot of those struggles are not quite as relatable to us over here. And so this channel is also proof that mixed race women and monoracial Black women can coexist, and we can have a space to ourselves and we can have an actual conversation. So that was another point of this channel. It was to prove that there can be conversations between monoracial, non-mixed Black women and mixed Black women. And this channel was also created to prove that light-skinned women and dark-skinned women can come together. And so that was the whole point of this entire channel, Exoticals United. The point was to bring together as many different phenotypes as possible, as many different racial mixes as possible, because one tactic that people use is divide and conquer. And so if people can get you divided, arguing over terminologies, arguing over phenotypes, arguing over skin tone, hair texture, eye color, nose size. If people can get you divided all the time, you're not going to be able to talk about the deeper issues. You're not going to be able to really social climb. You're not going to really be able to stack whatever privileges you have so that you can succeed in this world. And so this channel is supposed to be helping you to bypass all of the small things, like all of those small nuances, like, oh, you're not 50% white, so like you don't belong here. No, this channel is created to bypass small things like that so that we can get to the deeper issue and talk about the things that are left unsaid. And also with people saying, why are you so inclusive? Well, the reason that I was inclusive was because a lot of people are hypocritical in the unambiguous monoracial Black community. They throw people in and out of Blackness, they throw people in and out of light skin, and so I am taking advantage of that by creating this channel. And my channel is completely 100% based on Black women empowerment channels. So if you have a problem with my talking points, you have a problem with the actual originators and the actual blueprint. You guys love talking about being the blueprint. If you have a problem with the premise of my channel, that means you have a problem with the premise of Black women empowerment as a whole. And so all I did was I took their original blueprint and I flipped it to make it fit this YouTube channel. So if you think, oh, well, you know, there are too many people on this channel, or you guys, like, this channel doesn't make sense. The only people who think this channel doesn't make sense are people who don't belong on this channel, to be honest. I've only ever heard that criticism from pro-Black people or unambiguous people who don't fit this channel's niche, and that's fine. If you would rather be in a different space, feel free to follow any other YouTube channel. My channel is not the only one out there. It is one of the best out there, but it's not the only one. So another thing that some people ask is, what about people who are unambiguously Black posing as mixed or light-skinned? Well, if anything, that would further prove my point that there are a lot of unambiguous women out there that do want to be mixed race or light-skinned. And so that's not something that harms my channel, because my response to unambiguous women wanting to be mixed or wanting to look lighter skinned is, so what else is new? You know what I mean? That would be my response, because if anything, me creating this YouTube channel and then you seeing women who are not a part of this community saying they're a part of this community or wanting to be a part of this community, that's just further proof of the types of talking points that I talk about on my YouTube channel all the time, which is that it's not just black men who are, fetishizing us. I believe that it's unambiguous black women who fetishize and pedestalize our phenotype even more, to the point where a lot of them actually want to either date us, create us, or be us. And so I'm not worried about people posing as mixed or whatever, because I also feel like that's not as common as you think it is. I do think that it can happen, but I just feel like even if it did happen commonly, if anything, that just proves my point. And then for those of you who want to ask the question, what do you consider to be unambiguously black? Well, I got my definition of unambiguous blackness from actual unambiguous black women. And they said unambiguous blackness is dark skin, or if you guys want to call it brown, I don't care, brown/dark skin with type 4 hair, a wider nose, and like fuller lips. So I'll put some pictures up. Women like Viola Davis, women like Whoopi Goldberg, women like Tika Sumpter, women like that. That's where I got the terminology unambiguous from. Another question I get is, why do you include people who are mixed or people who look mixed? And that's because both groups get thrown in and out of blackness. Both groups get accused of benefiting from isms, colorism, texturism, or featureism. And both groups are oftentimes unwelcome in unambiguous black women empowerment spaces. And so for a lot of us, we have spent years denying our identities, really. And then it's like at the same time, black women over in the black empowerment sector, they told us we need to acknowledge our privilege. So us creating our own YouTube channels, it's us acknowledging our privilege. It's us talking about the nuances of those privileges and talking about the psychology behind the different experiences that we've had. And so if a person doesn't like that, then this channel is not for them, because it means that they probably are not a mixed race or mixed looking black woman, or they don't like mixed race or mixed looking black women. Anyway, those are some of the frequently asked questions I could think of. If you guys have any other questions about this community, then please let me know. Oh, actually, one more. Sometimes people ask me about other content creators that have exotical channels. They'll be like, oh, what do you think of these channels? And my response is I support them. I mean, I want you guys to create your own channels. I don't really care whether or not they have all the exact same talking points as me, because that's not the point. The point was not to start a cult. A lot of people put content creators on too high of a pedestal. You're putting me on too high of a pedestal here. I'm just a regular, faceless internet troll. So I want other girls to start their own channels to speak from their perspectives, because it's going to help to bring even more nuance to this conversation. So I don't argue with other women's talking points on their channels, because on their channels, they are the boss. They're the queen of their channels. They are the princess of their channels. They get to decide what they want to focus on, whether it's pretty privilege, whether it's like dark femininity, or I don't know, whatever it is they want to focus on, that's their choice. But anyway, those are some of the frequently asked questions. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.